Alright guys, this video is for Algebra 2. It's 8.6, Solving Rational Equations, Day 1. To start off, rational equations, they are equations that contain one or more rational expressions, as you can probably take a guess. These are going to be equations that have fractions in them, and not just like fractions with like just numbers. You're talking about with fractions like expressions with x's in your denominator. That's what makes these rational equations. Your variable, more often than not, ends up in being in your denominator. These equations are often easier to solve once the fractions are eliminated. Keyword there is often. You can eliminate the fractions by multiplying each side by the LCD. So essentially what you're going to do today is we're going to do the same work we've always done, find the LCD first, and then instead of going from there, we're going to take that LCD and multiply both sides of the equation by it. So the first one here, we're going to start with we're going to work it very slow, and then show you all the steps so that way we know it works. So that show you why this all works. So the first one we have is 4 over x plus 3 plus 5/6 equals 23/18. Now to do this, we're going to look at the three denominators, the x plus 3, the 6, and the 18, and we're going to get the LCD of those three. So the LCD of 4 over x plus 3, of 5 over 6, and 23 over 18. So you have an 18 and an x plus 3. 18 because of the 6 and the 18, and the x plus 3 because of that. And now what you do next is you multiply both sides of the equation by that LCD. So you multiply this side by 18, x plus 3. You multiply the right side by 18, x plus 3. Now remember these are over 1. Okay, now we're going to start on the right side because hopefully doing the right side first will kind of help with this. If you're going to multiply these together, remember this becomes just one big fraction. So you have 23 times 18 times x plus 3 on top over 18 times 1, so 18 in the bottom, in the denominator. So that leaves you with these 18s canceling out. So your right side just becomes, I don't know exactly where to put this because I'm judging where I'm going to end up with, so 23 x plus 3 on the right hand side. By that same logic, on the left hand side, you're going to distribute this 18x plus 3 to both these terms. So showing that work here, you're going to have 18 times 4 times x plus 3 over an x plus 3, and then these x plus 3's cancel, which leaves you with just 18 times 4. And then the same way, you're going to have 18 times x plus 3 times 5 over 6. And then you can see that the 6 goes into 18 3 times. So you're left with 3 times x plus 3 times 5. So you're distributing it on this side to each of these terms, canceling out what's already in the denominator, because these are equations, so you can cancel in top and bottom, and you want to get rid of the denominators. So however you want to show that, if you want to show this work, what I often do, I'm going to get rid of all this, is I just kind of do it in my head. So if I have 18 times x plus 3 and I'm multiplying this first term by it, I know the x plus 3's are going to cancel, so I'm left with just 18 times 4. And then my next sign is plus. Same way, I know this 18x plus 3 is going to be times 5, and it's over 6. So I know 6 goes into 18 3 times. So I know that the 3 that's left from here times this 5 is 15 times the x plus 3 from there. And from there, once you have it as a linear equation, you just distribute, multiply, and solve it. So you have 18 times 4 to give you 72, plus 15x plus 45 equals not 26, 23x plus 69. You got like terms on the left, so 15x plus 117 equals 23x plus 69. Let's see what I do. I moved the 69 over, subtract the 15x over here to give you 48 equals 8x. Divide by 8, and x equals 6. Once again, since you do have fractions, you have to make sure that you don't get zeros in your denominators with these. It also works out that they work out true. They have to be, true. So x plus 3 gives, or 6 plus 3 gives you 9. So you have to technically make sure that 4 ninths plus 5 6 gives you 23/18. If you want to do that in your calculator, you can. But you need to check these still to make sure they don't give you zeros in your denominator. So that's the way these work. You figure out what the LCD is from your denominators. Then you multiply all 3 terms by the denominators, canceling out what you can. So like the 18's canceled out here, the x plus 3's canceled out here, leaving you with 18 and the 4. 6 went into this 18 3 times this 5 to give you the 15, times the x plus 3. After that, it's just solving an equation. Alright, so this one here is for you guys, 7/12 plus 9 over x minus 4 equals 55/48. So go ahead and solve that equation for x. Alright, so hopefully you got 20 for this one. The LCD on this is 48 x minus 4. So you put that on both sides, distribute through. 12 goes into 48 4 times, so 4 times 7 gives you that 28 there, times the x minus 4, plus 9 times the 48, since the x minus 4 is canceled, equals 55. The 48's cancel here, times x minus 4. That's the nice part about these. You shouldn't be left with fractions after this step. Alright, so distribute the 28 through, 28x minus 112. 9 times 48 gives you 432, equals 55x minus 220. Like terms on the left hand gives you 320. Let's see which way I go this time. Add 220 over to give you 540. Subtract 28x to give you 27x. Divide by 27. X equals 20. So that's the nice part. Once you get past the LCD and everything, these become nice, normal, most of the times linear equations. All right. Now I show you this way to do these problems first because it's the way you have to do most of them, especially after the following problem. When you go and 20 worked, by the way, had to mess that, so 20 works on the last one. But if you look at this one here, we have 2 over x plus 3 plus 3 halves equals 19/10. It looks just like the ones we've done in the past, but the key here, and you could have done these on the past 2 problems, but I want to get that process down. The key here is that there's x and 1 fraction. So if that's the case, then this is just a number. This 3 halves is just a number. So to do that, you subtract the 3 halves from both sides, which leaves you with 2 over x plus 3, which ends up being 2/5. From there, you can solve it just like you solve any other proportion. You can just cross multiply. So 5 times 2 right here gives you 10, which equals 2 times x plus 3. Distribute the 2, so 10 equals 2x plus 6. Subtract 6, you get 4 equals 2x. Divide by 2, x equals 2. And if you check it, it checks out. Okay, so it's a much shorter way, and if you have an x in just 1 fraction, that's the way you couldn't take it. So I know, like I said, I know those last ones, they were the same setup, and yes, I know you're probably cussing me right now because you could have done it this way, but like I said, the way the last 2 were done is the way you're going to have to do most of these. So I wanted to show you this one just so you know it, so you can take that shortcut if you see it. The next one here, though, as you can see, you have x's all over the place, so there's nothing you can really do. So the first thing you always want to do is figure out your LCD, and the easiest way to do that is to make sure you factor everything. So the next question that's coming up here is factor x squared plus 8x plus 15. So see how this guy here factors. Alright, x squared plus 8x plus 15, it factors x plus 3, x plus 5. Which is no coincidence that it's the two factors that are over here. So that means that your LCD is just x plus 3, x plus 5. And remember, you're going to multiply both sides of the equation by that. Okay, so now whenever you distribute the x plus 3, x plus 5 into here, let's do the right side again first. So x plus 3, x plus 5 times this, the x plus 3's here will cancel, leaving you with 3 times x plus 5. On that side. So then you go to the right side, when you distribute this through here, the x plus 5's cancel, leaving you with 2x, x plus 3. Now when you multiply it into this one, the x plus 3, x plus 5, they cancel each one of these. So you don't have to write this denominator because it cancels out. You don't have to do anything with this except notice how it's a subtraction. So you need to make sure that you put minus x squared minus x minus 10 because you're subtracting that whole term. Okay, so that's a key point to make, is that this minus has to be put in front and you distribute through. So now you go and distribute, so 2x squared plus, whoops, not 3, 6x minus x squared plus x plus 10 equals 3x plus 15. And if you look, since you have squares, you know you have a quadratic equation. So you end up with colliding like terms. X squared plus 7x plus 10 equals 3x plus 15. Since it's a quadratic equation, you got to make it equal 0. So x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0. And then you factor this guy, x plus 5, x minus 1. Hopefully you kept your quadratic formula handy. That program, it'll come in handy here in the coming lessons, in this one and the next one, because then in case you can't figure out how this factors right off the top, you can just run it through your program and get to here. So you don't have to factor this. I see the factor. I'm pretty solid at factoring, so I just factor it and use that. But you don't have to factor this if you know it's a quadratic. Occasionally one will come up where you can't factor it, so you'll definitely want to make sure you have that quadratic formula program ready to go. Just like the rest, you need to make sure you check these, plug them in, make sure you don't get zeros in your denominators. If you take -5 and you put it right here, you can see you're going to end up with a 0 in the denominator. So we throw out -5, and 1 is our only answer. Alright, and that's really, kind of the gist of everything. We're going to lead it into this one. As you can probably see, this one's got 2 questions for you. Coming up. The first one being, what is this guy's LCD? So the first question that's right now, what is this rational equation's LCD? Alright, this LCD is z plus 1, z minus 1. Okay, like I said, most times it'll be a combination of these two factors. And so obviously z squared minus 1 factors that way. So as you get the hang of this too, you can kind of cut out the writing it on both sides and just multiply 2 by z minus 1, the factor that's not there, right? So the z plus 1 is there, it'll cancel, so you need to multiply it by the minus 1. Minus the z plus 1 that's not in that factor equals -2. As you can see, this one's a fairly simple one, so 2z minus 2 minus z minus 1 equals -2. And the next question that's that's coming up here in just a little bit is finish this one off and then tell me the answer. So tell me the answer to the rational equation 2 over z plus 1 minus 1 over z minus 1 equals -2 over z squared minus 1. Tell me the solution to this one. Alright, finishing this one off, you do your like terms, you get z minus 3 equals -2. Add 3 to both sides, which gives you z equals 1. And hopefully you checked it, because if you tell me 1, you're wrong. 1 minus 1 right here gives you 0. 1 squared minus 1 right here gives you 0. So you have 2 zeros in fractions. So 1 does not work, which means you have an actual answer of no solution. Okay, so you always have to make sure. Yes, I know I probably got some of you. Hopefully I didn't, but I probably maybe I did, and I know you're going to be mad at me. But you got to learn to check these. Okay, you have to make sure that these work when you plug them in. All right, so last one for this video, guys, is right here. This one's all you. Find the LCD of it first. Multiply both sides by that LCD, canceling out what you can, and then solve the equation. Make sure you check it. Alright guys, so hopefully you put in 7/3 as the answer, and like I said, always, if you didn't get 7/3, go through, pause it here, check your work, see where you made the silly mistake at. I showed a lot of work, 1 times the p plus 4 here because you don't need the p minus 2, 2p plus 1s because you have those factors right there. Always double check and factor this guy and make sure it factors to these two. Most cases it will, but there could be a case in there that slips up where it doesn't. So make sure you always do factor this trinomial, even though most cases it will be these two factors. Plus 2 times p minus 2, distribute, like terms, divide 7/3. So like I said, once you get past the LCDs of it and go into the actual equation, it's just either a linear or quadratic equation, which you guys know how to do. Just make sure you pay attention to what your LCD is, make sure you factor your stuff. And then the assignment for this one's kind of short because these problems can be a little lengthy. You got page 576, 1 through 8.